Whether you already have a table saw or you plan on getting one, here's some things you need to know before you even turn it on. First is to make sure that your table saw top and fence are nice and slick. You can use paste wax or you can use Glide Coat or some other agent that will make these nice and slick without corrupting your material. They should be able to have material slide across them easily without getting hung up. Second is that you want to make sure that your blade is parallel with your fence. To do that, usually you can measure over from the edge of the table to the edge of the fence in the front and do the same thing in the back, and then compare the measurements and see if your fence is in or out or parallel with the blade. You can also use some kind of square to check if your fence is at a perfect 90, making it parallel to the blade. And that is assuming that your blade is at a perfect 90 with your table, which you can also check using the same method, just using a square to check it out. And if you don't have a square, you can always measure these things. So a table saw like this only connects here in the front. When I take this out, there's nothing else connecting it. So any adjustment to be made to this fence will happen right here. Most saw fences do have adjustment on them. If you're using a smaller type of saw, that's going to connect in the front here as well as the back. And those things are notorious for just not setting up quickly square. So you will need to check each cut you make to make sure that your fence is not pinching into your blade, if that makes sense. Another thing that you can do to prevent burn marks and make your table saw cutting a lot smoother is to do one continuous cut. Don't stop a bunch of times to feed the material through. That will give you a lot less saw marks and definitely not any burn marks as long as your fence is parallel to your blade. Another thing is make sure you have a sharp blade and make sure it's the proper blade for what you're trying to do. It can make a difference in the amount of teeth or the structure of the teeth between different materials that you might be cutting. So just take a look at that. Also, if you don't know how to tell if your blade is sharp or not, it's pretty easy. Just look at the teeth, and at the tip, if there is any shine to it, then it's probably dull. You're gonna end up with horrible cuts, possibly kickbacks, definitely burns if you are not using a sharp blade.